Oh, hi guys. I'm so honored to get to have this time together. I'm so excited and I'm just so blessed. And I would love to, before our kiddos go, give ourselves a moment to just kind of share what God's doing in your life and give our kids a chance to hear a little snippet. We'll keep sharing after they go. But do any of our kids have anything that they want to share about what's going on in your life that you want the rest of us to know about? No pressure or anything. No? Yeah? Okay. No?
She's just
Change your
playing
mind?
around.
Oh, okay. Abraham has something he wants to share. Excellent.
I'm staying at my new school.
Yes. Yay. So Abraham tried a new school this year, and that was a big deal and super hard to do because you have to start all over with friends and teachers and everything. And we did it knowing that if he decided he did not like it, that he could go back to his old school. But Abraham made a decision this week that he is going to stay. And that's really, really exciting. I'm super excited for you, buddy. It's really cool. Thanks for sharing. Also, we have another really cool thing happening this week. You're starting soccer, which is really amazing. So we'll be sending out the schedule. I don't know that you know it's required to be a part of this community. It's not. But anywho, so that's going to be really fun too. Okay. Oh yeah, Elliot, you have something to share? Excellent.
I'm going to gymnastics.
Yes! So I don't know if you know, but Elliot's like half monkey / half gymnast / half human. That makes him about 150% person. And I'm super excited. Have you started yet, or are you going already? You're starting on Tuesday? Yes! Hey! We need a little video. Whoever's going to take him. So if we can have a little video, that'd be great. We're super excited for you. Anyone else? Got anything they want to share? Okay. All right. Oh, there we do. Yes, last. Hang on. Hang on. Wait.
I have an away game this week for volleyball. 2 away games this week, so if you want to come, hit me up.
It's only like 2 hours away.
It's really far. Tucson?
Yes.
We have to leave halfway in the school day, so we have to leave at 12:30 to get there. And then I'll be back home at like 10.
Yeah. So she's excited. She has to wear a dress. So, that's a whole new,
Got to dress up
on
for
the
away
days
games.
that they have away games, they have to wear a dress.
That's a thing.
And so she's like, how about my jeans? They've got embroidery. I'm like, I'm not sure that embroidered jeans qualify as a dress, but they're super cool, babe. So anywho, okay, cool to hear from our kids. Yay! All right, we release our kiddos to Miss Jasandra to be champions and game changers, to be powerful and good and kind and amaze balls.
And fierce.
And fierce. Clearly fierce as well. Yay! All right, adults, you guys, anyone want to share what's happening with you?
I'll share.
Yeah, Miss Debbie will share, and then Miss Ann, and
Thank you. So I want to thank you all for prayers over the last 2 months. My surgery on my foot was very successful. I'm
Yay.
thrilled, and we think we can get maybe 3 years out of 2 feet before an amputation. So that's better than one.
Yes,
so that's great, and really thank you. Prayers, right? God is good.
yeah, that's so great. We're so glad to have you back. We really missed you. I almost called you during service and went we'll just hook you in with us, but I think that was maybe a medicated day, so I decided maybe that I better not. But we're super glad for you.
Hello?
Right. Hello. Right.
It's all good.
Yay. All right, Annie.
So I got to go to San Diego last weekend, and I got drug into, although it ended up being a really awesome experience. My friend is involved in something called Jesus Saves San Diego, and it's an opportunity for people to participate in an experience of prophecy where they just go out to Balboa Park, and whoever wants to come and participate they do listening prayer for them, and they, share whatever the Lord puts on their heart with people. Anyway, so that actually happened yesterday, the Jesus Save San Diego, but the training happened the weekend that I was visiting my friend, and so I snuck into the training, which wasn't really appropriate, but I did,
and being inappropriate.
And it was really cool. I mean, it was super cool. And so all these people who had come together to learn how to do this were practicing with one another. And so I got to be a part of that practicing. And it's kind of like what we do here, only it was just like with people from all over San Diego County, from all different kinds of denominations and churches. And it was just like really a great experience to get to see what God was doing in the lives and hearts of a whole bunch of people who are doing what we're doing.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Thanks for sharing, Ann. Thank you. Anybody else want to? Yeah. All right.
It's sharing Sunday today.
Apparently.
Everyone's going to share. I'm just kidding. So this week I ended up going to a meditation time at the Phoenix Art Museum, which is like free. And it was super weird because they basically were doing centered prayer for like 30 minutes. It was great, but it was guided. So it was super awesome.
Interesting.
I know, right? So it was super interesting to find a group of people like doing kind of something that we're doing, but it was really cool because there were random people from like a whole bunch of different walks of life, like people studying it, people experiencing it, there was a kid from college group. Anyway, so it was just really wonderful to get to see something outside of DOC that is like along the same veins, which is really fun. So it was really life-giving and calming because centered prayer is basically that. So it was fun.
That's super fun.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else want to share something happening with them or a new experience? Yay, Chuck. Hooray.
I don't need no stinking On August 23rd, my wife and I celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary.
Ooh, wow. That is amazing. That's super amazing, considering I contemplated killing my husband this week once. No, just kidding.
I like to say it's all due to my wife. My wife says, stop saying that, it makes me look dumb. So.
Oh, that's funny.
Anyway, but it is.
Yay, that's a big deal. Thanks for sharing that, Chuck. All right, anyone else? Well, we've been in this, hi guys, super fun series where we have been going after an area in our lives that we want God to speak into, change, transform, and shift, and we want to partner with God in that process. So for those of you who might be new or haven't done this, I want you to go ahead and grab a card out of the bucket and write the thing that you would go, okay, this is my area. Some of your areas have shifted and changed over time. If you're wanting to write on a card about your area and what God might be talking to you about, that's super great too. I love that in this space, we get to be who we are authentically with God. So if it's a week where we're like, I don't even know if I believe in you, God, at all, it's okay to do that. And if you're in a place where you're like, I have never felt you more real than I feel you this week, God, then you get to be in that space. That there is permission in this room with all of us to allow each other to have a unique journey and to honor that unique journey with each other, to honor our experiences, and to honor ourselves. And I think most of you know that the area that I have been asking the Lord about is mental health. Mental health for people that I love, mental health for myself, because I really feel like so much of our quality of life comes down to mental health. How do I perceive the situations that I'm in? How do I perceive myself in those situations? Who do I believe God is in these situations? And that all has to do with perceptions and our ability to perceive. And then I also tacked onto there that I'd really like to finally just be thin. You know, like, so I put like weight and healthiness and all the appropriate words, but doggone it, just honestly, I just want to be thin. You know, so there it's there, right? So I had some fun experiences this week that I wasn't planning on sharing, but as the week drew closer to the end, I knew that I would, and I was like, oh, that vulnerability, authenticity thing is just, So I'm going to share a couple of things that actually cause a lot of people to like freak out because a lot of us grew up with people who might be standing in front of other people talking who wouldn't really acknowledge or admit, you know, some of the process that they're going through, because that makes people feel unsafe, right? It makes it, right, when you have someone who you feel like is helping you along or speaking into your life just a little bit, and they prove to have major flaws and issues, it makes you feel unsafe. It's kind of how we felt with our parents. Right? We want our parents to take care of us well, to do everything we need for them to do and be, and when they're not that and they fail us, it makes us feel super unsafe. And our brain blows up just a little bit at that. And then we seek to figure out how can we now live life when our parent is no longer perfect, you know, or hasn't been since the age of whatever. Then how do I take care of myself? Right? And we call that typically some of our great character and also coping mechanisms. Right? We develop great qualities that are great and serve us well, and we develop coping mechanisms. And I've discovered in the process of experiencing coping mechanisms and walking with people and processing their own coping mechanisms that some of those coping mechanisms even become an addiction. And I kind of believe that addictions tend to be habits that we create to survive turmoil. And it can either be turmoil that is outside of ourselves, or it can be an inner turmoil which goes back to the health, the mental health. It goes back to that place of I'm experiencing a level of turmoil and I don't know how to deal with it, and so I need to find something to medicate it, right? That can be binging Netflix, right? I so love that. Good medication for, you know, binging Netflix. For some it might be alcohol, for some it might be food. So I have been moving closer and closer towards a clean diet, and by clean I just mean fruits and vegetables and meat, which is what Greg did. How long ago was that, babe? A year and a half ago?
June of 2018.
June of 2018. He knows these dates, important dates. So he's been eating clean, except for 1 day a week. So 6 days a week he eats clean, and then he eats all kinds of super, super unhealthy stuff.
On Sunday.
Yeah, all day, all day. But
So you guys see me eating all this stuff?
yeah, he eats all that, and you're like, he does not eat clean. I swear to you, Ange, he does not eat clean. Well, yeah, 1 day a week. And I'm not really sure how that works, but it has worked for you really, really well.
Really well.
And it has been really helpful for his back. So anyway, in this, changing some simple habits, do you know what happens when you change habits that are your coping mechanism? The stuff that you were not dealing with comes up. Yeah, so when you change your habits, this is why people find it so hard to change habits, because those habits are there for a reason. And they tend to serve us well. And so we might call them a New Year's resolution. We might tell them I'm turning over a new leaf. I'm trying to make an adjustment in my whatever. And then we go, oh my gosh, why is it so hard? Well, because whatever that was doing something for me, whether it ultimately did not serve me well and is wrecking my life. What do we put in its place? So here's one of the things that happened, I discovered. So you guys know that we're in the process of building a house. And we're in the architecture / grading and drainage stage. And I have multiple times called a halt to the process because I'm utterly convinced that we need to make a change. And I'll debate on whether or not I want to stop everything and halt the process and make a change. And I'm like, I'm really sure that we need to. And I'll talk to Greg about it. He's like, I don't know, babe, go with what you're like, just, whatever.
Pretty easy with the whole thing.
Whatever you want, huh? Yeah. He's like, well, give me as good a feedback as he can. I share with him all the circumstances leading up to it. So think about this for yourself. Think about an area where you find yourself semi-undecided. Can you think about that? Maybe you're undecided about how to deal with family at the holidays, right? Or what to do with future schooling. What to do about that book that has been in the back of your mind that you think you should write, but you just haven't gotten yourself to do it. Or maybe that class that you want to take, those kind, okay? So are you with me now? You're tracking with me on, okay? So this is kind of what this house thing has been to me. It's that thing where I'm like, and I find myself continually obsessing about what I might have done wrong. Anybody with me on that kind of, right? And so then I feel like I have to fix it. Halt the presses, stop the grading, like we got to fix this. So I finally pull the trigger and go through the embarrassing process of stopping professionals from what they're doing to make a change. And the relief I feel is so huge. Until I hang up the phone and 30 seconds goes by. Not even a full minute later do I all of a sudden regret the decision that I just spent 2 weeks making and felt tremendous relief the moment I finally did it. Within are you laughing because you know this? Within 60 seconds, I'm going, oh wait, what? I just spent 2 weeks making this decision.
This is where I leave and
this is where he
go
leaves.
someplace else for a while.
He's like, oh, I've got to take care of work. Really bad.
I have work to do.
I have work to do. That's not a coping mechanism at all, babe. Totally healthy. Keep going. Keep going with that. And I realized finally this week, after probably a lifetime of doing the same thing, because typically we tend to obsess about things that seem reasonable, right? We obsess about really evil people at school, right? Or a boss, or a family member, or a circumstance that we find that we can't control. So it's easy to continue to blame that situation for the disturbed feeling that we have inside. Because why? It never changes. It never changes. So we never get caught in the act of changing it, because they never change, and discovering the oh my gosh feeling that we have inside is still there. And that wasn't the problem. Hoot. Anyone with me? Right? I think you're right. It's still there. And all of a sudden we realize, like, maybe it really wasn't about the house. Maybe it really wasn't about the boss. Maybe it really wasn't about the situation that I can't control. Maybe there's something going on inside of me that is uncomfortable, unhappy, disturbed, frustrated, scared, nervous. And I have projected onto these outside things my unhappiness so as to not acknowledge what's going on with me. Does this happen with anyone? So in the area that you are going after with God, this dynamic is probably happening. We are projecting outside of ourselves and the trouble that we're having with something. And because so many of the issues that we're dealing with are long-term, right? Dealing with a family member, dealing with a boss, it goes on for a long time and it's not likely to change. Do we ever come to recognize what it is that God wants to change with us in order to move us out of a victim mentality and right, and into a powerful place in those situations? So we remain feeling powerless, and then we remain feeling frustrated, and our mind just kind of goes looping, 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 looping. So there's a difference between our mind looping in a healthy way. Okay? So our mind looping in a healthy way is that you might feel obsessed with something or frustrated about something, and it takes you a couple of weeks to get rid of it. But your mind looping in an unhealthy way is the area of your brain, the cingulate, you can look it up, getting a little bit too much blood flow, and it just loops and loops and loops and loops and loops, and you cannot get the thing to stop. And at that point, you might need to take a little bit of B-complex. You might need to do something. Pray over your brain to stop the looping. Because as soon as I recognized that when I hung up the phone and when 30 seconds went by and I was regretting the decision that I just made, I realized there is something inside of me that is looking for a problem to solve. My brain is looking for problems to solve. And when everywhere I look in my life, I can't solve them, my brain is feeling anxious and agitated. So what's really going on? So by the way, I don't know yet. I don't know what my thing is. I'll let you know in a couple of weeks. Something is going on with me that I used to use sugar to medicate. Now that I'm not using sugar to medicate, I'm opening up a space for the Holy Spirit to talk to me. And I don't know what it is that's causing this settled feeling, but something is, and I'm going to find out. How do I know that I'm going to find out? Because that's the way he rolls. By the time I realize there's a challenge, he already set in place what he was already going to tell me about what the challenge was, and was already building into my life and into my character the solution. Because the solution, by the way, is our identity. Who we are, who he made us to be, is the answer to all the unsettled things that we don't know how to settle. But it's just the part of ourselves that we haven't met yet. It's the part of ourselves that we don't know yet that's the answer to these places that are unsettled. Right? So anybody want to comment or share something? I'm going to grab my water wherever I put it while I give you a second to think.
It just makes me think of something that I've heard Graham say before, is something along the lines of, I really like who I am now, but I also really like who I'm becoming. And that we're not ever, he doesn't, it's not like an end process, like I'm not the fullness of right now, but I'm in the process of becoming. Mm-hmm. And that's so good. That's so good that he wants to be in that process with us. And it's an exciting thing because I'm like, I really like who I am now, but I know I'm going to like so much more when I'm becoming, because there's so much more goodness that the Lord's going to uncover of who I am.
Right.
So it's kind of like an exciting journey of finding how much more awesome I can be.
Right? It's so good. It's so good. I think so many times when we have these situations where we feel powerless, or we have underlying anxiety, underlying frustration, anger, bitterness with people that goes on for long periods of time, we become comfortable with those emotions and we allow them to reside with us constantly. Instead of saying, instead of this, who do I want to be here? Who does God invite me to be here? What does a powerful person look like here? What does the me I haven't met yet look like here that doesn't feel the way that I feel now? Because we haven't even begun to discover the us that will be after we're no longer on this earth, right? I haven't. I mean, maybe when I'm sleeping, but I'm pretty confident that that's going to be a process. And so we so often have thought, when am I going to arrive? And the question is, how much do we want to explore the possibilities? The possibility. And if you don't mind putting possibility up on the board, Greg, because we talked about in the last 2 weeks how many of us were taught in our biblical tradition that the earth and all that is in it came from nothing, and then became the disillusionment, meaning no longer the illusion, that actually isn't biblical, that it never said it came from nothing, that there was a formless void, and there's a word for that, and it's called chaos. And it is the deep that was chaos, and a real Hebrew understanding of chaos was unorganized potential. And so last week we talked about, and if you don't mind putting this, chaos, unorganized potential, was that chaos was never, we have actually started call, over many centuries, chaos evil. In fact, we even have a phrase, God is never confusing. Well, I don't know about you, but he sure is confuses the out of me sometimes. He confuses me. There are times where I'm like, I do not get it. And he's like, well, let me help you, but it's confusing. And so we have almost labeled that as bad and wrong, that chaos and confusion is bad. And and that serves what? It serves a certain theology, and that theology is what? Certainty. And I've decided I don't want to be certain about almost anything other than the goodness of God. I want to step into the places of uncertainty. I want to step into and explore in my life, in my being, in relationship with God, what is the possibility? What is the unorganized chaos in my life? So I discovered this week that I had some unorganized chaos in my emotions and in my mind. And I can keep medicating it. And I don't mean medicating like medication. I mean medicating through actions and habits that help keep me insulated from it, which, by the way, I don't knock those. They'll save your life. A great show on Netflix could save your life. A drink at the right moment might save your life. When it no longer serves you, and you no longer want that thing to be the thing that's buffering between you and how you feel about everything or anything, that's when it no longer serves you. And you can thank it like Marie Kondo. I love that, right? Am I saying her name right? Where she says, thank you, you have served me well, and I release you. I release this habit, I release this mindset, I release this pattern of thinking. I am ready to discover unorganized potential. Yay, right? So, comments? So I want us to take some time in a few minutes to think about an area with God that we feel, I'll come back to you in just a second, thanks. That area, maybe it's the area, or maybe he's making you think of another area that you're like, hey, this is the thing that I want to adventure in with you, that is the place of unorganized chaos for you. And we're just gonna take, I know, right? You're like, ee! We're gonna take a couple minutes and just listen. And we do this not because everybody hears something. It's because we're opening up a space to saying yes to ourselves, to thinking differently, to feeling differently. And it doesn't always happen right here. But opening up the space and making a space for it means that we sometimes will hear later on in the week, later on in the month. So we'll do that in just a second. But Anne, you wanted to share.
Well, two things came to me, but I'll just stick to one so that it doesn't take too much time or distract us too much. Anyway, this has been mulling for a while, but it came up again today when I was by myself for a little bit. And I'm almost afraid to say it because it's like, this might be one of those places that we hang on tightly to in our theology that it's hard to let go of, if it needs to be let go of at all, I'm not sure. But anyway, it has to do with the idea of God being sovereign. That word has always been a comfort to me for most of my Christian life. And recently, the Lord just said, what if I'm not? What if this is not about me being sovereign in this situation? What if there's other opportunities or other ways of thinking about this and other potential outcomes than this attitude of fatalism that God is sovereign? Anyway, I just kind of throw it out there that this has been an area that this unorganized potential, it's like I feel like it's like, you know how the kitchen has to get worse before it gets more organized? You know, it's like you have to pull everything out of the cabinets before you can put them all back and put them in an organized fashion. And that's what it feels like. It feels like all of these ideas that I've had for a really long time that have protected me in really like difficult situations are being pulled out and looked at, and in a really sweet and not forceful way, but just an invitational way, the Lord is just saying, so what if that's not the best word? What if that's not the right way to really think about who I am? And I just wanted to throw that out because that's kind of what I feel like you're giving us the opportunity to do. It's like, just,
thanks.
You know, unpack it a little bit and see where, you know, what needs to stay and what needs to go.
So good.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Thank you, Anne. That's perfect. So, anybody else want to comment? All right. We'll just take a moment and we'll just allow ourselves to be listeners, contributors in our relationship with the Lord. It won't be long. And if this isn't your thing, you can think about your grocery list or whatever else. No big deal. All right, we'll begin. Does anybody want to share what they processed?
So this idea of, in the beginning there was this chaos, and it, it was over the face of the deep. It was over the whole earth. And the thought that came to me was, but that's what incredible things are created from. I mean, you may have already been saying all that, but it just all of a sudden was like, so from this place of discombobulation, of chaos, of things not being organized, that's the place that God chose to create from, starting there, rather than like, okay, I've got everything together. It was this